Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
Welcome, Deborah. I must say good morning, but it's good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Deborah. Hello.
Actually, it's good evening. We're like 5 o'clock, just after 5 p.m. I know.
Wow.
And it's winter and it literally is getting dark already.
Goodness. So a big welcome to you. I've said my hellos, and you are
Hi.
Deborah Leiser-Moore, and you're from Australia. What part of
Exactly, yes.
Australia are you in, Deborah?
I live in Melbourne, but I grew up in Sydney, and they're quite different cultures. It's a bit like Europe, where you have different countries, and because everyone thinks, oh, Australia, it's the same. But actually, we're quite different, very culturally and weather-wise quite different. So I see it like different countries in Europe. Like Poland is very different from Holland, so Melbourne is very different from Melbourne, Victoria is very different from Sydney, New South Wales. They're both beautiful, but different.
Now, I know a tiny fraction about you. It already sounds extremely interesting. So let's dive straight in.
Okay.
Who are you? What are you doing at the moment? What have you been doing?
All right. I am a performance maker, director, lecturer at university. I do have my PhD. I make very visual, physical work. I start from the body and I start from image. I do site-specific work, promenade work. Even in a theatre, I love to work with space. I love the idea of challenging audiences' perspective of how they see the work. So I trained, my training, it very influenced my training. I trained with Tadashi Suzuki in Japan, and I performed at his festival. So that was a big influence on me. But my major influences, and I teach the Tadashi Suzuki work. I've been teaching that for many years, and I still master teach it. And it's kind of part of, or has incorporated itself in my teaching pedagogy. But my major influences are Suzuki. I trained and worked with a company for about 4 or 5 years in Sydney when they did have companies. And, it was beautiful being a full-time member of a company. We're very different now in Australia. It's much more project based. But we trained every day. We did some Suzuki, but also did the work of Etienne de Creux, which is a 3-dimensional language of the body. And I also trained and worked with Richard Schechner. I did a project with him and did the Rasbox. And I have a colleague in Spain who taught me a bit of the Lafuran language of Lafur de Bao. So all of these have influenced my style of making work. So if you can imagine, it's very visceral. I'm very visual. I work in that way. And I teach in that way too. So when I make work with my students, I teach about the presence of the body, presence of the performer, I should say, looking at the moment, stillness, focus, all that type of thing. So we can create performers who are engaging. And that's, my shtick really. I've made a lot of work over the years and it's toured. Luckily, I'm very happy. I've toured nationally, internationally, including to Poland, as I've said, which I took my solo show. So after the company, I was with this company for a long time and we toured. And then I became an independent performer and made quite a few pieces. A lot of my work is to do with culture and I guess identity, although, and gender, I guess, but a lot to do with, influenced by my Jewish heritage, Jewish European heritage. In fact, my first solo piece, which was a major work, was called Hungry and was about being Jewish Australian, but European and as a woman. And I looked at the nature of ritual and a history that I'm carrying around in my body. And I had a 3-meter high corrugated iron Torah scroll, which had text all over it, and it opened and image came onto it and I hung upside down and all that type of thing. So the work, when I approach making work, it's all about thinking that everything is the text for the piece. So the body is a text, the image, the text, that's a script, everything. So it's not just about the words. But I do use language. Let me think. At the moment, I'm teaching quite a lot. I do love teaching, and I've made a work with my students, which we're putting into the Melbourne Fringe in October. I also have a couple of projects I am sort of slowly working on. And I've just today found out that we got some funding. So I'm going over to London in September to start a new project, which we're calling at the moment the Shylock Project. So I'm looking at Shylock and the tropes associated with Shylock and the nature of anti-Semitism. So I'm going to go there and do some interviews, and just really at the very beginning stages of making that work, which will be for like next year. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, and I have a couple of projects coming up. I'm making one that's based on an Isaac Bashevis Singer story. Yeah.
Okay, can I take you back to the beginning? We all think
Yes.
about performance, or rather, we all think about entertainment in very, defined blocks. So I can become, when I'm younger, when I'm starting off, I can become an opera singer, I can become a ballet dancer, I can become a theatre actor, I can be Tom Cruise in a film. What made you, I wish I could be Tom Cruise. Anyway, what made you do the work you do? Why did you choose, because it is a very niche piece of performance and art that you do. Why?
Okay, good question. But I have to say it's niche, but it's allowed me to travel because my style of work, the language of the work reads no matter wherever you are, But anyway, I did start ballet at age 3. Let me tell you that. So my first thing, I started ballet because my mother was actually a singer, an opera singer and a dancer. So she, I'm the youngest of 4 girls, so we all went to ballet, So I started ballet, and I remember I have this very distinct memory at age 10, after those years of ballets, that I don't want to be a ballet dancer and just be like, in the chorus and just be one of many and do what someone else tells me to do. Like, I remember at 10 years old thinking that. It's like, I don't know why I thought that. However, I remember thinking that. And I was very keen already to make my own work, to kind of go beyond, being part of something that was someone else's vision. I did ice skating, and I did a lot of visual arts as well. So in school, I did visual arts. I went to art school and did art and theatre. And then even when I was, I traveled around a lot. I've traveled the world a lot. And I remember I was in Japan, actually. I was living in Japan. This is before I trained and performed at Suzuki's festival. I was asked to be in a show. I was a Strindberg piece called The Stronger. And because I knew I had done a whole lot of physicality, I was really young. I don't know, maybe I was 20 or something. And I did this show and it did really well. We toured around Japan with it. And it was like, yeah, this is what I want to do, because my role was the silent one in it. And it was the language of the body. That was my script, sort of thing. And then when I'd started going to theatre school, but and I remember, again, it's so weird when you look back. I don't know what made me do it. I remember my work was always, I was just interested. I remember one time we were doing like a Hamlet scene. I'm like, hey, everybody, let's go do it outside in this kind of, the little amphitheater thing. And there were these stone stairs. And I remember kind of dressing myself really crazily and doing this physical thing. I don't know why. Anyway, I've just been drawn. I was always drawn to that kind of much more visceral work. And my defining moment, I remember, because I was in Adelaide that time, was one of my favorite teachers. I went to see Kazuo Ono do La Argentina. Oh my God, extraordinary piece. I was just, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And one of my favorite teachers said to me, Deborah, what are you doing here in Adelaide? There's nothing. You need to go back to Sydney, go do some real performance work. And I went back to Sydney, I started doing things, and I joined this company. I was very keen. I did some workshops with them, and then I auditioned and got into this company. And it was like I found my home, because it was based on that one, the physical language of the crew. I started to, I found there was kind of a place in Sydney, a venue called the Performance Space, after the Performance Space in New York. And it was the same thing. It was a centre for contemporary performance. That's where we were. That's where I performed. And we were a really beautiful community. And everyone was influenced by European theatre practices, Pina Bausch, Minushkin, Suzuki, Butoh. We all kind of traveled, and there were about 4 different companies where that was our home. And it was like, this is my world. And that lasted that's where I grew up performatively, I say. And that's where I got introduced to all this language, which just made sense. I just felt that just was my world. And then when I left the company, went to, did solo work, but worked with people from that world. We all worked together. My colleagues, that's just the language that that we all use, and that I just extended that language out and sought after places that that I could actually engage in a more sort of much more sort of solid way. So, going off and I did some work with the Piz and Kozla people, the theatre, that's very badly pronounced, but the Theatre of the Goat from Poland.
Oh, yes.
Because so I did some work with them, and they came to Australia, and we did a workshop here, and with Eugenia Baba, and I just kind of infused myself and just immersed myself in all that language. And luckily I made work, and I had a whole lot of sort of, you have collaborators, and just luckily my work, like my first solo, lucky enough to tour, and then I don't know, just sort of grew from there, and yeah.
Okay, Deborah,
that's what makes sense to me. Total theatre, I guess I call it. Yeah.
Total theatre. Deborah, why do you do what you do? Why are you not working in a finance office? Why are you not stacking shelves in a shop or driving a big rig? Why do you do what you do? What drives you?
I've always done it, put it that way. I think I tried for 1 second working in an office. I worked at the Australian Theatre. I was Australian Teachers of Media. It was the Atom Awards. I'm just not very good at it. I just do this because that's what I do. I just don't know how to do anything else, really. I've been doing this all my life when I think about it. I think I tried waitressing once. Or twice, actually, in England. I was very bad at it. I'm at home. My favorite place, my happy favorite place is in the studio, rehearsing. I love rehearsing. I think it's one of my favorite things to do. When everything, oh my God, all the possibilities. I guess I'm very, very lucky to be able to be supported in different ways to do this work, and my work being taken up and teach. And I don't know what else I'd do. I mean, I don't think I could work. I think I'd go crazy in an office.
Okay, let me ask you, I'm interested in your work because I don't know how it works. For instance, you love being in the studio rehearsing. Let's say you do, I don't mean to be rude. Let's say you do a good move. There's a good moment that you find in your piece. How do you remember to do that over and over again? Do you write down notes? Do you write down the movement? Do you make sure you copy what you did and always copy what you did?
I'm very specific in my work. So if something works, I guess I embody it. Yes, we maybe write it down, or because often actually I notate and write my script, and I'm saying that in inverted commas, because it's not your normal type of script. I often write that at the end of making a piece. But when I'm in the rehearsal room and something works, you just know it, and you keep going back to it. Like, so let's do that scene again. Okay, or let's do that moment again. And it just embodies itself within me, whether it's the text, the physicality, the moment, the looking, the music. Yeah, it just I don't think I haven't got a formula to remember it, or to go, that's right, and we'll repeat that. It's just I don't think I've ever been asked that question. It's such a good question, makes me think. But it's just something that is right. I know it, and in my directing, I just, you can feel it, it's just and I'm very specific. So when it comes to performance, like every single moment, every single kind of physicality, whether it be a finger move, a focus, is actually specific and cared for. Like, it's really that's the script. It's like, if you were writing it down, like if it's, and the cat sat on the mat, I wouldn't say the cat sat and on the mat, I would say the cat sat on the mat, whatever it is, physically, verbally, visually, sound wise. That becomes my script. That's how I write it. Yeah.
Your audience.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. Your audience, there must be some people who don't get it, who look at your performances and they don't get it, and it doesn't mean anything or too much to them.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Do you do work with the audience in mind, or do you do work with your passion in mind?
Both. I do both.
Yeah.
Oh no, definitely do both. I don't do such abstract work that audience don't get it. I have to say, I don't think I do. It's very clear. There's always a strong thematic underneath. Like I start from a theme and a lot of research, and I want my audience to get it.
Yeah.
Whether they get it because, you know, it's a moment and I'm sitting there and I'm reading something and there's a soundscape, that'll read. Then, you know, they will read it in their own way. I don't do super abstract work. Yeah, it's always got I think anyway, it's got clarity to it. I think. I feel like that,
And
yeah.
do you do work for your audience purely for their pleasure, or do you always have a message for your work to get across to your audience?
I don't necessarily have a message, but an exploration, I would say. I'm always exploring something. I want to explore a theme. I don't want to have a dogmatic message or answer. I'm saying I'm looking deeply into that. So, for instance, I did a piece which was in I think it was Ukraine. No, it was in Ukraine Fringe. Anyway, whatever it was in. Anyway, and it was about ex-homeless women. This is one I directed. And I had an ensemble of ex-homeless women, some who had never performed. But what I wanted for my audience was to have an experience, not to tell them we're homeless. I don't know. It was clear they were homeless and we had moments in there, but I wanted the audience to give them an experience of that sense of homelessness. So a lot of the work was very extended. A lot of it was about the breath. You know, at one moment you see a woman bringing in a little car and she sits, you know, the dignity, and we take time, and because time for homelessness is very different from time from people who have a 9-to-5 job or whatever you do. And so I wanted audiences to have that experience. So I wasn't going to go, oh, you know, these people, poor people, victim. Actually, quite the opposite. What came out of it was the dignity of these extraordinary, mature ex-homeless women. But I did it through their presence in the space. I had the set was just their chairs, because some of them actually couldn't move very well, but, you know, I had sand in their bare feet. And, you know, one woman went and had a shower on stage because all of them talked about how difficult it is to have a shower, but she didn't have a shower and took off her clothes because you can't do that. So, you know, she was in the back of the stage and she literally had a shower and she took time while the other ones were doing something else. But so it was not necessarily a message, but it was an exploration of this world. Or for instance, I'm trying to think, my one about Medea, the piece I did, that looked at with my husband. Actually, we did that one together, but that was I was looking at the kind of the perspective of the woman of Medea and wanting to sort of mourn her children in the Jewish way, saying Kaddish. But, you know, I wanted to kind of get the woman in the sense of being the other, and the sense of being, in a way, she says in them, think I'm a refugee. So I'm not kind of putting them up front. I'm sort of using the world to explore that theme, that idea. And then, you know, yeah, so I never really like dogmatic didactic performance. For me, I don't want to be told as an audience what to think. I want to be, okay, I never thought as an audience, I want my mind to be opened. And that's what I want with my work. I want people to have that sense of just really engaging and opening up and viscerally and feeling it in themselves, you know, in their heart and their mind, in their, you know, so they really engage with it, and they go looking and they come forward and they're with you all the time. And opening and broadening the thinking and the mind. That's what I'm trying, I guess, you know. I don't think about it in that way, to tell you the truth. I just kind of explore something, but I know that's why, you know, I do want them to engage with a theme or a thought or an idea or something, you know. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to close this as well, what you just said. But before we do, I've got an existential question I'd like to ask you.
Okay.
Before I ask that question, where can people find you and how can they seek you out? Could you tell us how you can be found, please?
Sure. I have a website. It's just basically my name is without the hyphen, www.deborahleisermoore.com. And on there you can contact me. There's a contact thing. And you can see snippets of all my work on there. So, and yeah, there's all trailers and photos of all the different productions, ones I've made or I'm in, or ones I've directed, or work I've done with others. So there's all different kind of sections there. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me through the website or my email, which is deborah.lm4@bigpond.com, which you probably won't remember, but it's on the website. And I'm happy, you know, and if someone's really interested in the work, I can send them the whole, you know, the whole show as a private, because I don't put the whole show on there. I do have a YouTube and a Vimeo as well, but the website's generally the best.
Fantastic,
So,
thank you.
okay.
Well, here it is. Here's the existential question.
Okay.
You have the opportunity tomorrow of being frozen, cryogenics and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you will be frozen for 100 years, and you will wake up in 100 years' time, just precisely as you personally are today, and carry on living. Would you do it? Now, bear in mind, being frozen tomorrow means all of your loved ones around you, they carry on living.
No, I think no. I love my loved ones. I love my friends. I love my community. I love my family. I don't think I'd do it. I feel lonely.
Okay, well, let's take that out of the mix then. They're going to be fine, and perhaps they're going to be with you in the future. Would you like to be on this earth in 100 years' time from now, as you are today? Yeah,
maybe I would be. I would like it. As long as it's definitely I could wake up. I wouldn't like to think, you know, I'd be frozen and then, oh my God, we've forgotten how to unfreeze her. That wouldn't be good. But yeah, if they could unfreeze me and, you know, people around me, how beautiful. Yeah, I'd be so interested to know what's going on. Actually, I was talking with my colleague last night, the one is from Barcelona, and he was saying like the big thing now with, you know, in regard to performance in the future is that in Spain and Barcelona, there's this big festival and it's all without performers. All the theatre work has no performers in it. It's all like technology, and because thousands of people are coming, it's technology and image. Goes, that's the future. And I say, well, God, you know, maybe we should go back and actually have, okay, let's do a piece where it's just the body and space and nothing else. So maybe if we wait 100 years, we wake up and go, oh, that part's all past now. We can come back to the body again, to the human being in the space.
That would be the future, wouldn't it? A human being performing.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a crazy idea.
Deborah, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and talking with you and sharing time with you. It's been absolutely, you sound absolutely wonderful. So put all your information online, so when you're touring, people can come and find you and see you, because I'm sure.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, been lovely to talk.
Final message from you, my lovely lady?
A last message?
Any last message?
No, nice to have everyone watches. Nice to meet you. Really nice to meet you. And what a great idea these interviews are.
Yeah.
And yeah, good on your West Theatre, you know.
Yeah.
It's very good.
And I think my hat is just as beautiful as your hat.
Oh, that's so nice. We should exchange hats. Let's see. Not quite sure what that means, but I'll think about that one.
You're lovely. Say goodbye, Deborah.
Bye. Thanks so much. See you.